a speed paint was posted that got ratioed to absolute hell. So this is just a really interesting situation. Let's delve into it. And again, disclaimer, before we get started, please don't send hate to any parties involved. So this kicks off, and I'm sorry because this is all in Indonesian and it translated, so apologies in advance if I mispronounce some names, but it's by an account called Nam Nam Sun Project. It's talking about some goodies being made. Now, I don't know anything about K-pop, but this is their Instagram, and it looks to be a birthday event for Lee Hae-chan, who is part of NCT. But from my understanding, and I'm not going to pretend to know anything about K-pop because I don't, it looks like they have like 2 packages being sold that features goodies. There is a shadow package, and these are the goodies that you can get, or there is a sun package, and these are the goodies you can get alongside that. Now, a lot of people notice that there are these little chibis. So you can see there's this little chibi here. I look at the pins, and then there's also this little chibi here. And then you can see some of the artwork featured here as well. And that people were kind of like, yo, feel like AI is being used, waiting for that speed paint from IBIS Paint if you're drawing it yourself and not using AI. Because people were looking at the chibis and they felt a little sus about it. And so the account tweets, many of you guys are curious about the image process and coloring. So we wanted to explain it a bit. The artwork was actually made way before the event was held. And as you can see, here are screenshots of the artwork. Now it looks like the artist is actually somebody else. So the person who's hosting this project does not seem to be the artist from my understanding, but they posted these 2 screenshots of the iPad where you can also see the layers and the completed image. And people immediately were suspicious, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm sus too. I'm just gonna add a disclaimer. I add these in all my videos. I'm sorry if it gets a little annoying for you guys if you guys watch a lot of my videos, but just for new people, every artist has their own art process. So just because you are somebody that likes to draw in a specific way that's unique to you and makes sense to you, that works for you, more power to you. The things that we're gonna be talking about, again, it's everything together. There's already a lot of elements that are suspicious beyond just the layering system, and we're gonna delve into that. But this is really odd because if you look at the layers, they have like 9 layers worth of line art and 1 layer of the full render. And the full render is on top of the line art, which you almost never see because it doesn't work that way. Like if you're an artist, right? I just drew this with my mouse. You want the line art layer on top because if you put the color layer on top, this is what happens. You can't see it anymore. It's just odd. There might be a situation where, like, I don't know, they flattened everything onto 1 layer and then they just saved all the line art layers below, but that's not often how artists work. The only time I could see that happening is if you're working on a device that has like no memory. I used to have an iPad Air and my memory was so low that I could open 20 layers maximum. So I kept merging layers to try to save memory. But then that doesn't also make sense because why is there like 8 line art layers? I feel like typically those are the ones you throw away first and not the rendering layers. I don't know. But again, every artist has their own process. But on top of that, now I don't use IBIS Paint, so I could be wrong here. But from what it looks like this is a transparent layer, and it looks like all the line art layers are on white, like a white background. So these aren't drawn on a transparent layer. Like nothing is actually. Everything was merged onto a white background, which again is odd because that's not the most common. Now, again, I could be wrong. Maybe this is transparent because I don't use IBIS paints. All I know is in other drawing programs, all the ones that I use, if it's a transparent layer, it's checkered in the back like that, which I don't see here. The host continues, Kak Afni, which I think might be the name of the artist, is indeed accustomed to coloring directly in a single layer. So the process might appear different from that of most artists. In addition, the coloring process doesn't solely use IBIS paint, but also incorporates Sketchbook, which is used throughout the process. So there was a video that was attached as well.
Kak, ini tuh aku gambarnya tuh 1 layer gitu kan. Jadi kayak aku nggak langsung gambar dan warnain ini. Aku tuh jarang ngegambar berlayer-layer gitu. Nah, makanya kayak 1 layer doang. Boom. Najis. Kak,
Back.
udah kan nanti dengerin ini aja. Ini juga.
Terus yang ini
Semuanya juga berlayer.
Ini bikinan aku semua BTW.
Abris.
Ya. Nah, ini juga berlayar kan.
Now, I don't understand what's being said, but it just kind of looks like they're showing that everything is on 1 layer, like opening other projects.
1 layer gitu. Semuanya 1 layer. 1 layer.
Yo, halo kakak.
Nah gitu. Kak, Kak, ini tuh aku gambarnya tuh satu.
And they add, the coloring process itself wasn't entirely done alone either, since it was helped out by her friend who was staying at the residence during the last Ramadan fasting holiday. So these were the speed paints that went super viral. And they added, actually, we wanted to share the full time lapse of the drawing process, but there was a technical issue in IBIS Paint where it hadn't been able to render the video since last night. We've also attached the chat proof. Right now, only this file has been successfully processed. Which, from my understanding, IBIS Paint is a drawing program that automatically actually records your time lapses, like Procreate does. Which I want to add, a lot of times the truth is stranger than fiction. But what are the odds that every single time somebody's being called out for like, oh, you know, the art process stuff looks a little sus, every single time the time lapse expert breaks? For every single one of these people, I swear, if I had a dime for every single time the IBIS Paint expert was broken, I would be able to buy like 50 bobas by now. But anyways, I digress. Let's take a look at this situation. So here we can see the layers in the drawing program where there's 3 layers of scribble. So there's one layer of like the face frame for the head and then the actual layer of the sketch. So here we have them drawing the face in, and then we have the coloring. And the coloring, which again, it's always a bit suspicious when there's a massive gap in the speed paint itself, because it's like, okay, we have a speed paint for the actual part of the sketch. We don't have them setting the drawing, the actual blocking foundation, just like the sketch itself. And then we go into just straight rendering. So the line art was done in the middle without being recorded. But the coloring process, it's so odd. Like, it looks like they're coloring on line art that is merged onto a white layer. So they're purposely coloring in a way to try to avoid the lines because they don't know what a clipping mask is. Which, I'm not making fun of people who don't know that. Dude, I didn't know what a clipping mask was for years, by the way. So my first drawings all look like this, my first digital ones, that is, because I didn't know what a clipping mask was, how to clean it up, how to make a transparent layer. Like, you know what I mean? It literally looks like somebody's like coloring like this. They have the liner all on a white layer and they're like, oh, let me like try not to color in too much into the lines, you know, otherwise I'm gonna block the lines out. Again, not dogging on you at all if this is how you draw, because like I've drawn like this for a very long time before I discovered what clipping masks were and transparent layers. But like, this is not what was advertised, you know? This is not this. This is the very cleaned up final version of somebody who knows what a clipping mask is and knows to put the line art layer on the very top so that you can put your rendering below it. And what's also crazy is that this got ratioed to hell. So it's got 126 likes, 700,000 views, and 1.5 thousand retweets. And the retweets aren't looking good. People are saying things like, yo, people who use AI always have the same excuse that their IBIS paint is glitching. People are posting their own speed paints, their legit ones that are like, yo, here's a time lapse of my fan art so you don't get fooled, because that one that you posted is a mess. Another time lapse that somebody posted of their artwork. Another person says, it always amazes me seeing AI prompter people try so hard to make a speed paint video. Like, why? But anyways, OP continues, while the other files are still experiencing errors. How convenient. The suspicious files are experiencing errors. But they continue, for now, we're attaching the sketch stage first. Hopefully this explanation and preview is enough to satisfy everyone's curiosity. Thank you for supporting this project so well. And here is the proof that the time-lapse export failed, and you can see some still frames, which like, okay, again, I don't use IBIS Paint, so I could be like completely wrong here. Why are there like a bajillion frames of like the same thing? It's like more and more of the torso is revealed, but that's not how people draw. But I don't know if these are like still frames from the actual speed paints that failed to export, or like these are the layers. No matter which it is, the still frames or the layers, it's still odd. Other people were pointing out the fact that it's interesting the time lapse is only 7 seconds long, because for a piece like this that looks so rendered, people were saying the time lapse should be a lot longer. And somebody just posted like a little laugh crying emoji, and this was part of the speed paint. It's like they toggled on like a layer, but this was so weird. They like lined the head up to a different layer. And people were saying from this to hair, you just slapped it straight on and damn, it's just AI. And somebody says, oh no, they were caught tracing. Because yeah, here we have this, and then bam, the finished layer is just below. Genuinely what happened, they did like a base sketch that, by the way, the proportions don't match at all to the final output. The mouth is really low. It's just a stylistic choice, you know, but the final versions, the mouth is like a lot closer to the eyes. And then boom, paste in a already finished sketch. where did you get this sketch from that you pasted in? And then they draw over that sketch. Like, literally, what was the point of drawing this if you were just gonna paste it ahead anyways? So then the organizer went and put out this statement. And it is in Indonesian, but essentially the essence is that they're actually canceling the event, where they write, "We've tried our best to provide explanations and proof that all the goodie designs are original works and not AI. But we understand many of you guys still feel uncomfortable, so we feel like it's best to stop the event. And we appreciate all of the support, attention, criticism, and input." And people in the comments were like, dude, wait, I'm confused, right? Because they were like, the issue wasn't the event or anything. The issue was that your artist used AI, and that's why people were upset. And people were saying things like, yo, the point of calling you out wasn't for you to stop the event, but that you're aware that AI was used. If you're apologizing because you feel forced to shut down the event because it was called out, that means you did not get our point and purpose, which we've already been telling you from the start. And other people were saying, quote, "Trying as much as possible to give an explanation," end quote, "falling into denial if that's really AI. Why don't you just admit it if it's AI? Your artist is not an artist, but instead an AI user." And again, people were pointing out the side by side. I just laugh every time I see this because, like, their attempts to pass it off is just so laughable. This is what they showed, and this was the actual final product, where again, the quality difference is completely different. People were saying in the comments that, again, this looks like it was somebody's first day learning IBIS Paint, and that's what they produced. And this is AI generated. And the thing is, like, when I speak on a quality standpoint, AI generated works, like, the rendering quality is typically really, really high. It would be like the finished level of rendering of an artist who's drawn for many, many years. It's, again, made by the amalgamation of stolen art from artists who's drawn for many, many years, which is why the rendering looks the way it does. That's not this. This is somebody who doesn't know clipping masks exist. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of people are getting like super gung-ho angry about the organizer. There's a lot that you can say about this whole situation. Benefit of doubt, if the organizer and the artist are two separate people, the organizer also got scammed, right? If there is a situation where like maybe the organizer knows the artist or the artist is their friend, they want to probably believe their friend. They probably want to trust their friend. So when their friend tells them, or if the artist tells them, "Hey, we didn't use AI, I promise you, I swear," and if you, the organizer, are not an artist, you're gonna take their word for it. You're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, like I know you, I trust you, that's fine. You know, I take your word for it. I don't know why all these internet people are being so mad, you know, like I trust you." And then people on the internet are providing evidence like, "Hey, this looks weird, you know, the layers don't match up, etc." It can be a situation where, you know, you want to like trust the people that you know, so you don't want to believe what people are telling you, and that your artist slash potentially maybe somebody you know slash you're friends with did deceive you. So I do think that the organizer in many regards is probably also a victim in this situation. Don't send hate to anybody, right? I just want to share the situation because the fake speed paint is just always so funny and it always cracks me up. But I mean, this was a situation where somebody was trying to do a fan project for a K-pop idol they really love and respect, and unfortunately, it ended up with this situation. The true issue at hand, honestly, is the artist who tried passing off AI work as something that was not and had lied to people about it, even providing like fake speed paints and layer images to try to claim the fact that they drew everything legitimate. And they even convinced the organizer, like, no, this is my process. I just draw everything on one layer. Look at all these other artworks I've done that are also on one layer. Like, trust me. Now everyone looks like a fool. Maybe I'm cutting people too much slack. I don't support Gen AI at all. Don't scam people with Gen AI. But this was like a fan project that somebody was trying to host, and then it ended up devolving into this. But it was just funny because the speed paint, the original post about it, got like 1 million views. Everybody looked at it and was like, yo, what is this? So if you like this video, I appreciate if you like and subscribe. And again, don't send hate to any parties involved. Check me on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources, like a free sponsorship guide on my coffee. And I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 PST. So I hope to catch y'all there or in another one of my videos.